Today we're talking about something that I think is very timely for the new year, which is boundaries. And anytime I'm in like the stylist Facebook groups and things like that, the one thing that always comes up to me is just boundaries. Like, boundaries could solve this. You would feel so much better. You'd feel less burnt out, all of that stuff, if you could just have better boundaries in place. But I think that boundaries in general have kind of become like taken on a life of their own, like that word. And so today I'm going to tell you guys the 3 different types of boundaries that you really need to have behind the chair in order to have a profitable and peaceful business, right? Isn't that the goal? Like, isn't that why we all open our own business? So that we could have more peace, we could have more fulfillment, we could have more control over our time, our schedule, our services, like everything. So I'm really excited to talk about this. I think that it's really, by the end, you're going to have so much clarity. So today's training is for you if you never feel like you're off of work, okay? So you're receiving messages from clients at all times of the day and night. Maybe you even feel like your clients kind of take advantage of you and like expect a lot of you in terms of like, hello, like you should be getting back to me right now, okay? This training is for you if you struggle to charge the full price of your services and you always take a little bit off of the top, right? Like, you go to quote your client at the end of the service and you're like, instead of saying 200, you're like, it's 180, because you have like a pit in your stomach and you're scared to say the real price and it feels awkward. Okay, this is for you if you regularly feel emotionally drained when you finish work, okay? This was a huge one for me when I was behind the chair. Excuse me. I would come home and basically tell my husband, like, please don't talk to me. Like, I can't hear any more problems. I can't talk about like myself anymore. Like, I just need peace and quiet right now. So if you deal with any of those things, this is really going to help you. We're going to talk about 3 different types of boundaries behind the chair, okay? So they are financial boundaries, emotional boundaries, and time boundaries. Okay, so where I want to start off is kind of with the misconceptions around boundaries. So the biggest misconception around boundaries is that we set boundaries in place to push other people away, right? And if you've ever been on the opposite side of like someone setting a boundary and you kind of feeling it, it can feel like a wall is getting put up, right? Or like, we do it to create space, we do it to push someone away or something like that. But truthfully, establishing boundaries is a way to pull people closer to us, right? It's a way to say, here's how you can love me in a way that's sustainable long-term, in a way that will bring both of us joy, in a way that allows me to be like my authentic self and show up my best for you. And so I want you guys to keep that in mind, because a lot of hairstylists struggle with people pleasing, okay? And I feel like nervous to say this, but I feel like, as your business coach, as your C&M business coach, it's my like job, it's like my responsibility to talk about this, especially around this topic, because I know, you guys, that a lot of the reasons why you haven't set some of the, boundaries or policies that we're going to talk about today is because you're people pleasing. You just want to make everyone happy. But in researching kind of people pleasing and that like need, impulse, or desire to just make things nice in the moment, I actually realized that people pleasing is a toxic behavior. Okay? So a lot of times we can point the fingers at other people for being toxic when, like, that's just natural to be like, oh, you're toxic, I don't like how you're acting. But you guys, people pleasing is a toxic behavior. It is actually manipulative, damaging, and hurtful to the relationship. And if you really think about it, this is why. It's because often people pleasing is really just pretending to like certain things or be okay with certain things because we believe the other person will leave us, not like us anymore, not be our friend anymore if we don't. So that is not coming from an authentic place. Ouch, right? Like, ouch. So what I want you to do with your relationship to people pleasing, or when you notice that tendency or that impulse to do that, to just make things nice, I want you to really think about, like, I'm not being authentic right now, which to me puts a whole new spin on it because I consider myself like a very authentic person. But when I think about people pleasing not being authentic, people pleasing actually being a form of manipulation, which, I mean, that just makes my skin crawl. Like, that is so not to my values and not to how I want to show up in the world. And I would be surprised if you guys didn't feel the same way, like hearing that, right? Like, that's extreme and that's harsh, but that's the truth. So as we talk about setting some of these boundaries, it might push you out of your comfort zone. But I want you guys to remember that this is all out of building an authentic business, okay? And it's actually all of these things we're going to talk about are going to set up for better relationships between you and your clients. And I know that's what you guys want. Okay, so let's make 2025 the year of living authentically and trusting that other people, our clients, are going to show up for us when we let them, right? When we tell them our boundaries, when we establish our boundaries, let's just have faith that this is going to make the environment, the experience better for absolutely everyone. Okay, so the first boundary we're going to talk about is financial boundaries, okay? And here's what I mean by this. So financial boundaries are boundaries around, like, not letting your money fly out of your pocket. So for example, charging your actual prices, charging for every service and add-on you do, offering those upgrades consistently. What I notice a lot right now, or in the past year, is that people will be like, Ren, I think I'm ready for a price increase, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, like, let's talk this through. That's so exciting. But come to find out, they're not even charging their actual prices, right? Like, they're not even charging for all the add-ons that they're doing. They're not charging for their extra time or extra bowls of color. And so in my view, it's like, if you raise your prices without already having your financial boundaries in lock in terms of, like, I charge the price that it is, right? I don't back down for my prices, etc. You're not even going to feel that price increase, because if you can't confidently charge all of your prices at this price point, it's going to be even harder at a higher price point. So we're going to have financial boundaries. I think something that really helps when it comes to this topic is a training that I did on how to price quote clients in the current economic climate. It's episode number 148 of the Successful Hairstylist podcast. So, make a note of that. I'll put it in the show notes and go and check out that episode. I got so many messages about that episode in general, in terms of, like, how to price quote people so that you're actually getting paid effectively. And on the flip side, you guys, financial boundaries also include some self-control. I know a lot of you are perfectionists. I know that a lot of you want the hair to look like so completely perfect at the end that sometimes you're like, well, they don't want the gloss, but I'm doing the gloss anyway because that's what it needs, or whatever. But we need to practice self-control. If they didn't ask for XYZ within reason. It's okay to go above and beyond a little bit here and there. But if they didn't ask for that, don't do it. Okay? Let their hair be slightly imperfect. Be on the journey with them of like, here's where we are now. Here's where we're going. We're in this together. Okay, so we're going to have better financial boundaries. Okay, so the next boundary is time boundaries. So these are boundaries that impact our schedule. They can have us come in early. They can have us stay late. They can have us working on our days off, and even be messaging outside of our work hours. Okay, and I know that this is a hot topic. I see it all the time in the groups of like, this client texts me at midnight, like, how dare them, that's so rude, whatever. So what we want to do, first of all, when it comes to our schedule, is we want to get better at saying no. If you don't have time for something and will run late, for saying no. If you're booked up and that client really wants in on that day, not coming in early, not staying late, but just being like, no, like, I can't make it work. I can recommend someone else, or you can come in tomorrow, right? As we grow, this is going to happen. We aren't going to be able to keep every single client, and I know it's hard and scary, but it's so important. We have to say no. We have to be the one advocating for our own time, right? We cannot expect our clients to manage our time for us. We have to manage our time. So also, what does this look like? Turning off Instagram notifications from coming right to your phone. So if you're scheduling appointments through your DMs, you need to have those off so that you're only checking that when it's business hours, or when you have like your own schedule for that, which I'm going to recommend to you guys. But on the flip side, your clients should be able to message you whenever is convenient for them. Okay? And I mean this with like my whole chest, or 10 toes down, as they say, right? Like, your clients should be able to message you whenever is convenient for them. If that's 2 a.m. because their crying baby just got to sleep and they're like, oh, you know what? I meant to book that hair appointment. They should be able to do that. That is not on them, right? You getting a notification in the middle of the night is on you. Okay, and I say that with like so much love. So what we can do instead is, like I said, number 1, turn off notifications for your Instagram inbox. Number 2, have a business phone number. Have a business phone number, okay? Google Voice is literally free. It can text, you can get calls, everything. You need a business number, because what you can do with a business number is set the times you're going to get notifications, or even in your notifications, you can mute Google Voice if that's what you're going to use. You can mute Google Voice with your do not disturb, or with your like a schedule of notifications, versus getting it at all hours of the day. Because I know some of you are moms, some of you have, parents, siblings, whatever, that you want your ringer on at all times because who knows what's going to happen. Totally get that. Have it to where you can turn off the apps of your business, okay? And I know that that can be annoying on the front end to like set up, make sure everyone stops texting your personal number, etc. But you can do it, and it is so worth the effort to get it set up, okay? So a business number, and then working on your notifications. Now, just like I talked about with financial boundaries and having self-control comes in here too. When I talk about this to people, a lot of the times they're like, well, my anxiety won't let there be a text message without reading it. I'm thinking I'm doing this. My anxiety won't let me do that. I'll feel anxious the rest of the night. You gotta work on that. That is something that you need to have better outlets for, or just, get used to and evolve with. The goals of our businesses are to get busier and busier. So when it's a little problem now of like, well, I really only have 1 or 2 people that text me here and there, it's going to turn into so many. So it's like, we need to be able to grow along with our businesses. So having the self-control to not check messages. So for me personally, what I do is I have a rule with my clients, and I did the same thing when I was behind the chair of 24-hour response time. Okay, so you're going to hear back from me within 24 hours, period. And if you look at anything on customer service, that is very reasonable, okay? So you're already teaching them it's not going to be immediate 9 times out of 10. But that you will hear from me, right? You don't have to have anxiety as my client of like, did she get that message? Is she gonna get back to me? What's going on? They're gonna know that you're going to get back to them, and then you're going to know you have space to get back to them, okay? The other thing that I do is I actually set timers in my phone. So I have a morning, an afternoon, and an evening, okay? The timers go off. I go in. I see if I have new messages. I respond to those messages, right? It maybe takes 5 minutes max if there's like a lot to do, 5 minutes. In between those timers, you guys, I don't check it at all. Even if I see I have responses, even if I see new things have come in, I don't check it. So if you're somebody that's like, okay, I need to look at it every day, I need to clear it out in the morning or I'm going to be anxious, this is what it should be like. Not message, now I'm on my phone, now I'm doing this, now I'm taken away from my present moment, now I'm building resentment against, my clients because how dare they? They're taking advantage of me. They want to have access to me at all times. So having the business number, having control over your notifications, and then having that designated time will help with that anxiety as you're building that muscle, right? So I saw that notification. I'm going to check that when my 1 o'clock alarm goes off to check my notifications, okay? I'm going to let it go right now. I'm going to stay focused on what I'm focused on, or I'm going to stay present with my friends or my family or just my relaxing time of like, I'm vegging out right now to a TV show. Like, just because you have the time doesn't mean that time isn't important to your life, okay? So these are our time boundaries. This is where we're going to try to set standards and everything for us. So checking the notifications would also include like emails and things like that. So if you don't have a business number yet, I highly recommend that would be the first step. Then you can move on to notifications, timers, all of that. I swear to you guys, you are going to have so much more peace and fulfillment in your business just by taking care of this category, so that in your personal life, you can feel like you have a personal life, okay? Because that's the biggest cause of, in my opinion, like burnout, resentment, frustration, all of that is we don't feel like we get to live our actual life. Which, like, why did I start a business if it's ruining and taking over my personal life, right? Okay, so the last boundary that we're going to talk about is emotional boundaries. And I find that this one can be the trickiest because as human beings, we are moody. Okay, we are moody. Sometimes we're in the mood to tell our whole life story, to have people connecting with us, to telling us their life story, to trauma bonding. Sometimes we're fully in the mood for that. Sometimes we are so not in the mood for that. You're out of line asking me that question, or the last thing we want to do is talk about that area of our life, right? And so it can feel awful. We can feel exhausted. But it's important to set some standards for yourself in this area. So what I've noticed in this is that when we're in a good life space, we don't care. Okay. We'll share anything and everything. Life is good. But in Buddhism, they talk about, the wheel turns And when we're not in a good place, it can feel awful to continue to reiterate and talk about some of the hard things going on in our life, right? People who have gone through divorces or major breakups where your clients know everything about your relationship previously, and then now it's like, well, we're actually getting a divorce. It is exhausting. It is awful. And it doesn't help with your personal grieving and like mental health at all. So it's like knowing for yourself, hey, times are good right now, but I'm still going to have a bit of a boundary here so that when times don't feel good, I am not already overextending myself emotionally. So people are expecting this, right? They're invested in that part of my life. If you are prone to getting exhausted after work, pay attention to the trauma dumping portion of your visits. Now, some people have these relationships, it doesn't bother them at all. It brings them joy. They don't feel exhausted by it. They feel energized by it. More power to you. I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong. I'm just saying if you notice you're exhausted at the end of the day, you don't want to talk to your friends, you don't want your spouse to talk to you, you just want to be in a cold, dark room and like breathe, and it's impacting your personal life, then that's when we need to pay attention to, you know, the trauma dumping. Are we encouraging people to talk about serious things? How can we redirect conversations around difficult topics when we don't have the energy to pour into that? And if you do want to know about that, I did an episode that you can look up. It's episode 134. And I did some research with like therapists, psychologists, all of that on knowing how to redirect conversations. And I think that's a really, really important skill for hairstylists, estheticians to know, because we are in these like intimate one-on-one dynamics with people that are so sacred and precious, and we hold space for people in a way that not a lot of people hold space for them. So I would definitely encourage you to look into that, because we have to also remember that people spending their visit with us, let's say 3 hours, talking about their trauma, that's not necessarily healthy for them either. So we want to make sure that we're doing things that help them feel empowered, confident, and good inside and out when they're with us. I've also had clients who have told me their deep, dark secrets, and then when they got healthier and felt embarrassed of that time of their life, they didn't want to come back and see me because I was the one who knew all the crazy shit that they did. So then it almost built like a negative association with me. I'm now associated with the trauma. I am now associated with their deep, dark secrets. That's not what I want to be. I want to be associated with healing, with fun, with excitement, with feeling good. So it's just something to consider and have a mindful eye as you're building your business. Okay, hey Sunny. So after 10 years in business, how do you recommend switching clients over to a new business number? That's what I worry about. So, is it annoying? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. So is it annoying? Like when I say one time, I mean, like, let's say, is it annoying for 2 months? Yes. Will clients texting you on your personal number be annoying for years and years and years and years? Yes. Okay, so we want to look at the benefit of just being annoyed for 2 months and be like, I can do that because this is getting me out of an annoying situation that's happening, you know, daily for 10 years of your business. So how I would go about this is, first of all, I would get the number. So what I recommended before was Google Voice, but I'm sure there's other options if you guys want to do that. So you're going to set up the number. Then you're going to replace, you know, on your website, on Instagram, on Google, on Yelp, wherever, put your new number. Then you are going to as clients start texting your personal number, you are going to text them back from the new number. Okay, so a lot of times why it's hard to get people to start texting you on the new number is because they probably have a whole thread with you, right? You're the esthetician thread, you're the hairstylist thread. They go to you, they can see everything you guys have talked about. They're just going to text you there. So you're going to make it easy and you're just going to text them back on the new number. Now you're going to say, hey, I'm no longer using that number. I wouldn't even tell them that's my personal number. Or reiterate that, even if they know that. I wouldn't even say, oh, that's my personal number. Please don't text me there. I would just say, I'm no longer using that number. This is how you can reach me. And in response to your question about, Friday at 2, yes, you could come in at 1:30. That's perfect. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? So save this as my new number. Any messages you send to the old number, I will not be replying to. Okay, then, so that's for people who are kind of like texting you as you're setting this up. Then you could send out a notification or something like that. But again, if it were me and I wanted to make it the least annoying as possible, I would go through the people who text me the most and I would text them from the new number and say, hey, reply to this number with got it if you got it. Just letting you know, any messages you send to my other number, I will not be replying to. Now, in your spirit, if you see their message, you're going to reply from the other number. Okay? Then in your, if you do an e-blast, if you do mass text, like whatever that looks like, you can make this announcement. So you could also do an announcement on Instagram, new number, updated as of this time, any messages sent to the old number will not be replied to, and then go from there. Okay, so again, is it going to be annoying at first? Is it going to be a little bit of extra work at first? Yeah. And then will you still have stragglers sending you texts here and there? Totally. But again, we are going to message from the new number. So we're not even going to let their messages go through. Now, if you've already texted them from the new number and they keep texting you over here, you can block them. And then on the Google Voice, be like, hey, just letting you know, I think you keep trying to send me messages over there. I cannot see them. What's going on, right? So that you're really retraining them. Okay, so that is what I would do. And then, like I said, after you do that, you can go into your notifications. And if you add that and like your Instagram DMs and wherever else you're getting business messages to your, do not disturb, to your focus, to whatever settings are in there, you can actually set a schedule for that. Or like I said, you just turn all the notifications off. You have a timer go off at, for example, 9 a.m., 1, and 6:30 p.m. You take 5 minutes to check in and reply to everybody, and then you let it go. There is a book on this. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, I believe. And that's where I got the timer concept, or like the setting aside specific time to reply. Because if you continue to let your text messages run your life, your personal life, your time with friends, your time with your kids, any of it, of course you're going to be burnt out. Of course you're going to be resentful, probably a little bit mad. I mean, it's frustrating. Focus is like, and our attention is like the most valuable resource in this world, in this economy right now. And so to not be able to focus for a single moment on anything because your phone keeps dinging, I mean, how do we do anything, right? How do we have any deep, valuable, like meaningful time doing anything when we're in that situation? So I highly recommend that. Great question. By the way, your wing liner looks so cute. Thank you. My 2025 makeup vibe is some eyeliner. Okay, so those are the 3 types of boundaries that will help you have a peaceful and profitable business in 2025. I hope that this has been eye-opening to you guys and that it has helped you see things a little bit differently, but also know how to dig your way out of maybe some situations that you're in. So if you have any feedback, stories, comments, questions, you can definitely comment them like on this live stream on Instagram. You can comment them on Spotify and I get back to you guys. You can write them in a review on Apple. You can jump into my DMs at RunLopeOfficial and let me know and we can talk about it. I am always here to help you guys have healthier, happier businesses. And just remember that learning is the fun part. Learning is the exciting part of the day. Now it's time to take some notes, write things down, and make a plan of how you're going to implement some of these things into your actual business, right? Time to take action on these ideas. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you all next week.